And there's the proof. Rock and roll might get to be middle-aged. It'll never die. In the next 30 minutes...
Made about the rift between Jagger and Keith Richards, and I'm just wondering how they interacted on stage last night.
Well, you know, there wasn't a lot of interaction between them. You know, I think fans of the two guys are known as the Glimmer Twins. You know, remember them both singing out of the same mic, and there was very little of that. On the other hand, you know, Keith was really anchoring the band, and I think in his sense, Mick was right where he belonged, at the front of the group, you know, and Jagger was just totally in command. So even as though personally there didn't seem to be a lot of interaction between them, everybody seemed very focused and intent on what they were doing. You know, it was opening night after all.
Yeah, what's been at the root of their feud? I mean, these are two guys who've been friends since early childhood. You're talking about a 40-year relationship almost. What's at the root of that feud?
Well, they've moved a little bit in different directions. You know, I think Keith still maintains this kind of piratical rock and roll rebel figure a little bit. Jagger's moving in other kinds of circles, is much more of a kind of international, almost rock aristocrat or something. And so that they're almost their images and their sense about what the Rolling Stones are and should be, you know, seemed awry for a moment.
Well, now, they're still doing it, though. They're still making music.
I think that I was just going to say, I think that very much at the moment, Jagger has decided that he is a Rolling Stone and that everybody in the band is concentrated on what they're doing.
Well, now, last night they performed a number of songs from their latest album, Steel Wheels. So let's take a look at a clip from that.
Great.
And see some of this also. Now, what do you think of the new material? How does that compare to the classic Rolling Stones music that we know?
Well, I think Steel Wheels is among the best records they've made in the last 15 years. You know, it's up there with Tattoo You and Some Girls. You know, it's a very, very strong record.
Yeah. You know, the Stones aren't the only rock and rollers on the seniors tour this summer. We've got a lot of old groups coming back. The Jefferson Airplane, Paul McCartney, Dylan's out there doing it. What's going on here? A revival of late 60s, early 70s?
I think, you know, especially given Woodstock summer, I think there's a tremendous amount of interest on people's part, particularly young people's part, with the 60s and what that all was about. So these icons are getting a tremendous amount of attention. And then plus, I think that, you know, people at the moment, given the kinds of problems we're facing, are a little frightened about the future, and the past looks kind of reassuring to them.
But how long can a group like the Rolling Stones keep going on, though, performing and drawing crowds like that? With the energy that Jagger expends on stage, he's like a hummingbird in heat. I mean, and he's not 19 years old anymore. No,
that's very true, but you know, seeing them last night, I mean, this is a very valid question, but seeing them last night, it was just hard to imagine they're not being able to do it again. I mean, they just seemed so fit and so powerful. It was, you know, it seems silly to sort of think of a time when that couldn't happen in some way, although I suppose it's inevitable.
Take lots of vitamins, Mick. Anthony DeCurtis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing them when they come to New York.
Oh, they're worth waiting for.
It's 43 past the hour. Nigel Dempster on the split.
Yes.
As we told you a little bit earlier, in Philadelphia last night, the Rolling Stones took to the stage. It was their first tour date together in 8 years, the first stop on a scheduled 30-city tour. Today, music correspondent Rona Elliott was there. She says diehard fans of the Stones were not disappointed.
The crowd didn't need any starting up. They were ready to party with the bad boys of rock. Despite a 6-minute power failure during the third song, the audience was in stone-cold rapture. From the moment the gates opened, no one seemed immune to first-night excitement, new and old fans alike.
I'm a secretary to a principal of a grammar school. Are you ready for this? My principal said, please grow up. I said, never.
I brought my son. He's one of the main reasons why I'm here, too. He wanted to see them, even though he's
I just want to see them, that's why.
They're old men, they're here to party, and I'm here to party with them.
Big lips, tight pants, you know, kinky kind of things.
A Rolling Stones tour has always created anticipation and near hysteria, even in the early days. And time has always been on their side. The Stones have survived 25+ years through personnel changes, death, divorce, drug abuse and recovery, and most recently, the public dispute between Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. Their differences aside, the Stones have just released their strongest album in a decade, Steel Wheels, with its first single, Mixed Emotions, already a hit. The Stones are hot right now, on record, on stage, and at the bank. The band stands to make at least $1 million a night touring. Not bad for aging rock stars who showed everyone else the way.
They were the greatest rock and roll band in the world in 20 years, and they're still the greatest rock and roll band. They've lost nothing.
And we got engaged here.
I got my stern at the Stearns.
They're the best rock and roll band in the world.
The Rolling Stones pulled out all the stops in this show. They were raunchy, outrageous, intense, and indisputably powerful. All the things a great rock and roll band is supposed to be. For today, Rona Elliott, NBC News, Philadelphia.
I wonder if my brother was there. He's seen him, I think he's seen him in concert over 4 dozen times. Huge Stones fan, yeah. And he's older than I am. We're going to come back in a moment. Station break.